Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about loops in JavaScript. Let's get started. So first off, let's just discuss what loops are. Loops are another form of control structure in JavaScript that allow you to repeatedly run the same code as many times as necessary. So you could print out each item of a shopping list over and over. You could, without a loop though, it wouldn't be possible for you to do this because you don't necessarily know ahead of time how many times and how many items there are in a list. Loops can also be useful for when you want to keep running the same piece of code until some condition is true. So for example, you repeatedly ask a user to enter their birth date until they provide a valid date. Now, what are we going to learn about today specifically? We're going to learn about 4 different types of loops. While loops, for loops, for in loops, and for of loops. So we're going to start out with the while loops. So open up your whatever command line or IDE you want to use. We're going to go on and create up a new text file. And actually, you know what? Not a new text file here. We want to create up just a new file. And we'll call this, just loops.html. And I'll go on and put this inside of my documents and inside of our applications. And I'm going to go on and put this inside of 2 as well with our conditionals. So to start off with, we want our HTML. We're going to create up a body and a script tag. Again, this is just bare bones. Later on, we can talk about the more structure and stuff about HTML anyways. But what are we going to be doing now? Well, while loops. So similar to an if statement, a while loop depends on some kind of conditional test. And just like these if statements, a while loop will skip executing its code altogether if the condition is initially found to be false. Unlike if statements, however, a while loop will keep running the code in its body as long as that condition is true. So again, there are some things we have to be very careful with. So let's go on and continue with our speed example. So let speed is equal to 30. And we'll have a while loop, or a while statement here. And again, notice here, while we're taking in some condition. So this condition here would be something like speed is greater than 25. Okay. Well, the next portion in here is we want to have the log, or the console log here, and say something like your current speed is, and again, here we'll do our speed, and we'll say miles per hour. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do here, though, is we'll do speed minus, and as we remember, this is a decrement, okay? So it will subtract out, every time this runs, it will subtract out 1 from 25, or then 24, then 23, again from speed here, okay? So starting out with 30. And then after all of this is done, we want to, do log here and say, now your speed is, again here, we'll do speed, miles per hour. And so again, so we should see now that this should alternate, okay? It should say your current speed is, again, your current speed. And after it's done, eventually it will stop whenever it'll break out of this loop, all right, as long as speed is greater than 25. So once it hits 25, it should break out and say, now your speed is 25 miles per hour. So let's go on and give that a try. So this is under loops. All right, and so let's go on and open that up. And let me bring it over. Let me move this over to the side here. Let me bring this over. All right, right click. Oh, and this is, I opened it up today in Safari so that you can kind of see here. I'm going to click on the console. And again, let me clear my filters. And you'll see here that we have a couple things, right? Your current speed is 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, and then 25. Oh, and it stops. Now your current speed is 25 miles per hour. Great. So if we go back and let's just change it again, just so that we can see what happens if our current speed is, actually, you know what, let's change it to this. Let's do is less than 20. So it'll run for just a little bit longer, okay? So we'll save this. We'll go back over and we will refresh and notice it'll keep going. So it starts out at current speed is 30 all the way to 21, and then it says now your speed is 20 miles per hour. So again, it is looping through all of these while it is less than, or while it's greater than 20 miles per hour. And once it hits 20 miles per hour, it breaks out, and it goes to this new message of now your speed is 20 miles per hour. So next up, let's go on and go to a for loop. So I'll go on and I'm going to comment this out. And we'll take a look at a for loop. So a for loop is another type of structure style for a JavaScript loop. Like the while loop, the for loop keeps repeating for as long as some condition is true. But unlike a while loop, though, the for loop, the code is for managing the repetitions appears at the start of the code, and it's separated from the body. So often, though, these loops are have a particular looping variable that helps keep track of the state of the loop. So the for loop is going to be a more convenient way to write these types of patterns. So let's go on and take a look at it. So we can do for. And again, here it's let, and we have some index. We have, again, and it's equal to 0. And again, maybe this would be, for example, we can have, let's turn this element, okay, into the previous while loop that we just had. So we'll say let speed equal to 30. Where speed is less than, and again, here it was maybe wanting some length, okay, of some array if you're iterating over an array. But in this instance, we just want speed to be greater than 25. And then here, instead of increasing the speed, we're going to decrease the speed. And then again, all we're going to do here is console log out your current speed is speed. Okay, and now it should run perfectly fine, just as we have before. Again, what we're doing now is we are initializing our speed at 30. We're setting our loop condition for 25. And then we are updating the looping variable for speed. And again, this update will occur after each repetition of the loop. So if we go on and go back to our web page and we decide to, let me clear this, and we will refresh the page. Notice it goes, current speed is 29 all the way to 26. Okay, now The only difference is that we can't log the final speed after the loop ends, and as we did in the while loop. So this is because the speed variable is going to be declared as part of the code for the loop itself rather than before the loop. So as such here, speed, and let me pull this back up here, speed, okay, our variable speed here is going to be confined to inside of the loop. So there's nothing you can do with the for loop that you can't do with a while loop, but most programmers, again, find for loops easier to read than the equivalent while loops, simply because all the looping logic is gathered into one place. Okay, so that just kind of seems to be, you'll see more for loops instead of while loops, but again, there's nothing that's saying that you can't. Okay, so again, if you wanted to maybe include that 24, you'd want to include the 25. You can change this up to 24. Notice here your current speed is 26. Then you can refresh it, or if again, and so we'll let me show you this again. If we want to try and do something like log let's do now your speed is just to show you guys what would happen here. So notice we are initializing that speed inside of this loop. So if we run this, okay, we save it, go here and notice, oh, cannot find variable speed. Okay, again, it's not found inside our global code space, so it doesn't exist. So there is the only difference that we have between these two types of for loops. So again, this is overall is what we're talking about is scope. Okay, so if we wanted to have something outside the scope, we could set it up again outside. So something like let speed. Okay, and here we can say equal to, let's say speed is equal to 100 right now. Okay, now the question is this speed the same as this speed? Well, I'm going to let you guys think for a second, and I'm going to go in and run the code. Okay. So if we go here, let me clear everything out, and I run it, notice they're not the same, okay? We hear this starts at 30, and this goes to 100, all right? So what's happening here is that our console, inside of this loop, this is initialized locally. This particular speed is initialized inside of the for loop and only inside the for loop. This speed is not part of that speed. So that's why the naming conventions you need to be very specific, okay? So we could say something like speed global. Okay, so again, that's just something to kind of show you about scope, and we'll talk more about that as the series progresses. So let's go on and talk about our third type of loop. Now, and that is the for of loop. Now, a for of loop cycles through items inside of an array, whereas a while loop or a for loop keeps looping as long as some condition is true. Now, a for of loop goes over each item in an array one at a time. And this stops when it runs out of items. So, and it's quite useful. And it is common to have apply the same action to each member of the array. For example, if you had an array of numbers, and you could create a bar chart by looping over those numbers and drawing a rectangle to the screen for each of those, using the number set by the rectangles. All right, so let's go on and do something here. Again, those rectangles, again, being the height of the pixels from the array. So we can do something like let colors is equal to, and we'll create up an array here of red, green, and blue. And we'll do for of here, and we'll do color of colors. Okay, and we'll do log here color is a color. All right, and we should be able to go back over here and clear this and run this. And notice here, red is a color, green is a color, blue is a color. Okay, so it has gone through and it looped through each of the items inside of our set. Now, this is a relatively new type of coding structure that we've talked about, this this for of statement. Now, again, what does this code do? This code logs a sentence for each color in the array of colors, and then it stops. So we first create the array containing the strings red, green, and blue. Then we use a statement for, and again here it's const color of colors. Notice the color and colors are two different things. Again, a lot of the times we used to do something like I for something. And again, the first time we go through the loop, color will be set to red, then it'll be set to green, and then finally the third time it'll be set to blue. When the array runs out of items, the loop ends, and the script output would be, again, as we saw before. Now, it is also possible to do this using a for loop. So if we do something like for here, and you notice this is kind of the old school for loop instance here. Notice here that it has an array. And again, here, this array, for example, we could change this to, here, let me undo all of this real quick, and we'll make it so that you understand. Color, right? And then our array here would be colors, okay? And again here, we'll just have this log out element. Okay, and again, this is just the old style. This is the same, they're exactly the same, and you can iterate over them. Again, you will see both of these, that's why I'm kind of showing you now. But if let's do this really quickly. We'll do log here, and we'll put in a bunch of hash marks in here so you can see the difference between them. Run this, clear this, and let's refresh. And notice here, you see green is a color, or red is a color, green is a color, blue is a color. We have my line of hashes, and here, and then notice red, blue, or red, green, blue. Okay, as we saw before. So they both work exactly the same way. I won't tell you which one is better or worse or anything like that. Just this one just happens to be a little bit more verbose. This one is a little bit more of the newer syntax, and I kind of like it because it's very clear and concise as to what happens. Again, creating up these for loops like this. Again, when you're talking about the arrays and stuff like that, just a little bit more verbose in the way that it is. Again, they work exactly the same way. All right, so again, it is also possible for us to, whenever we are destructuring things, okay, so for example, one nice thing about this, okay, this utilizing this element or anything else, okay, is we can do something like this. So let's comment this out, and let's do another example here with of. And let's say again that we have our colors, our array of colors, and again we'll do red, green, blue. And again, this is because let's think about we're maybe wanting to make up some RGB colors or something like that. So we will do our for of loop here, and we want to do something a little bit differently. We are going to do index and item. Notice we're creating up an array, and then we're going to have our object, which is colors, and then we are going to grab the entries from that. Now, what this does is this splits out colors, and it's going to give us the index number. So for red, it would be 0, green, it would be 1, blue, it would be 2, and it will give us now each of those items. So you can split something up. You can take this array, you can split up into 2 entries. Again, you can do something very similar if you're doing objects, and you can do your key value pairs, etc. So now let's do our console log, and we want the, let's do our index, and we want the item is a color. All right, so now we should get something, our expected output here would be something like 0, red is a color, and then the same thing for 1 and blue, or green, and 2 and blue. So let's go back over. Let's refresh. Oh, I got a syntax error. So let's figure out where that syntax error is. It says in line 30. Okay. So, oh, all right. I see right here. I forgot to put my backtick. There's my backtick. Now everything will work just fine. Let's go back over here, and we will go back to console, and let's refresh. All right. So again, this would have been the index : item is color. And again, so this is it worked out perfectly. 0, red is color, 1, green is color, 2, blue is a color. So now we can go back, and we can do something very similar, and something that may be something that's kind of interesting for you guys. So it's also possible to use this type of destructuring. So that's actually what this is called. This is destructuring here. This destructuring assignment in to do some things outside of for of loops as well. Okay, so again, since we've been working with this RGB type thing, and let's do this. Let's do let RGB a color, okay? And we'll do something like 125, 100, 0, and then 0.5 for our A. Okay, now we can do let R, G, B, A is equal to RGBA color. Okay, and if we run this, if we do log here, and we want RGBA, let's take a look and see what this is going to look like for us. So notice 123, 100, 0, 0.5. And again, all this is doing is destructuring out our RGBA into a new set of variables, RGBA. So again, this is very, very helpful when you want to grab something. Now, another interesting fact on this is if we just did RGB, okay, and we look at RGB, we go over and we run this, notice it just completely drops out the A in there, okay? So you don't have to do all of them, you can do some of them. So again, just a nice little destructuring tidbit for you. All right, so now let's go on to looking at our final type of loop, and this is the for-in loop. Now, a for-in loop cycles through the keys in an object. So let's do for n. Okay, and now this for n loop is going to cycle through the keys in an object. It works similarly to the for of loop, picking out each key in turn and then stopping when there are no more keys. Now the difference is that the for n loop are applied to objects instead of arrays. So for of is for arrays, for in is for objects. Now looping over the keys, not the values. Saving the contents. Again, so let's take a look at this. So first off, let's go on and create up create up some array. So let's do movies. Okay, or just say movie. Oh, you know what? Let's do something even more fun. Let's do a cat. Okay, so here the cat's name is Tom. The cat's age is 20. Color is, let's say, black, comma, oh, black. Yeah, just black. We'll be fine. I think we'll leave it at that for now. So now we can say in here we have let's call this key in cat. Okay, and then we don't actually need this, so we'll delete that. And we'll do something like log my cat's name is name. He is blank years old and has, again here, color fur. All right, so now in here, actually, what we can do here is do, again, I made I was a little, we can do key in here actually, and then we can do in here something like cat key. Cat key. Okay, and let's see what happens with this. Okay, so let's clear this. Let's go through and run our console. And notice here, there is a little bit of a discrepancy, right? So my cat's name is age. Whoops. My cat's name is name. He is Tom. Old and has Tom fur. Notice there's something very interesting about this, right? So you're looping through something, so you have to be very careful. You can't just create up this expecting it to go through each of the items individually and do exactly what you want it to do. It's going to be a key, a specific item inside. Okay, so again, here it'll be name, and then it'll do age, and then it'll do color. Otherwise, you're going to have this crazy nonsense looking thing like you have here, right? Now, how could we go about doing this? All right, so let's see here. Let's go and let's fix this so that actually makes some sense. So first we would have something like, let's try something just a little bit different, and we'll make it a little bit more simplistic. Okay. My cat is cat, and let's do this. My cat is, and we'll do cat with key here. So now the should make a little bit more sense for us. Okay, so now let's do it and have a nice simplistic look to it. And so it says now, my cat is Tom, my cat is 20, my cat is black. Okay, so again, you can do these to access that information. So the first time it's going to loop through, it would set to the name. Okay, and again, the second time it loops through, it would set to his age, and the third time it would set through, it'd set in to his color. Okay, so let's maybe try and do something a little bit more, utilizing both the key and the input from and the information held by that key. So my cat's let's do key is blank. Okay, so now it should be my cat's name is Tom, my cat's age is 20, my cat's color is black. Okay, so notice this can be, you can have these very nice loops to get this information out. So let's check and see if that worked correctly. My cat's name is Tom, my cat's age is 20, my cat's color is black. Perfect. Okay, so now we're having some nice clear output. And again, we can achieve the same results using object entries. Okay, so if we went utilizing the same, if we look at the for in here, you can see, for example, object has property called. So here it'd be maybe project property entries if we wanted to do that. Again, same with our version for the our for of, again using some iterator. But again, this is a much cleaner way of doing that. So again, I hope you guys like this video. Again, what did we cover today? We can finally covered up our control structures utilizing the for loops specifically, and any types of loops. So while loops, for of, and for in. If you guys like this content and you want more of it, please comment, subscribe, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.